Okay, welcome back to the show, folks. You are listening to the American Adversaries Drive Time Prime Time Show as we come to you live on FM 105.5 and AM 660 The Answer. And once again, please help us save the babies. This is a radiothon going on all this week. It's sponsored by Salem Media Group so that we can help the pregnancy centers like True Life Choice save girls, little infants, and save their lives in the process. And by providing for cost-free to these women ultrasounds and other pregnancy services, this is how the babies are saved. And of course, somebody's got to pay for that. You know, money makes the world go round, even in communism. So if you want to, please do go to am660theanswer.com. And there's a menu there, or you can just put in whatever amount you would like to donate. And there's an 800 number you can call as well, 800-357-1997. Real easy to remember, 800-357-1997. And every penny will go to help support organizations like True Life Choice. We had Vicki Botsford on yesterday describing what they do over there. And John Barros, who's right on the front lines, he's the one who actually gets the girls to come out and go to these pregnancy centers if they go to that abortion clinic downtown first. And there are other people like him. They need our support. So please, am660theanswer.com, 800-357-1997. All right, in the studio today is Colonel Danny McKnight. Got the chairman of the board, Mike McBath, in here. Of course, I'm Christopher Hart. 407-774-8255 is our number. And, Colonel, before we move on to, I want to talk about the Benghazi hearing coming up here Thursday and get your take on that and everything. You know, Joe Biden's been playing this little coy game. You know, he's getting in, he's not getting in, he's thinking about it, he's not. This morning he was at a conference in Washington, D.C., where everyone who was there was absolutely convinced he is running. And yet, sort of the last thing he said was, I'm still figuring it out. Having said all of that, is there any higher regard for Joe Biden amongst the military that you are aware of than his boss presently, Barack Obama?
Oh, I would say probably without question that the military would be much more accommodating to Vice President Joe Biden than they would Barack Obama. I believe they would feel more comfortable with him because, for one thing, they know he's actually a true and realistic American, which is a big deal to a soldier. And I believe that they would be much more willing to say, yeah, this is a guy that I could support compared to him. Now, if we want to compare him to other people that might be running on the other side, right, that might be a different story. But if you want to compare him to the respect he would get compared to the respect that President Obama gets, it would be 10 times over more respectful to Joe Biden. And I would say that as if I was a soldier still today, I guess I always am, but if I was, I would surely be willing to show that respect for Joe Biden. I would never show it for Barack Obama.
How does Hillary, where does Hillary fit in?
She's probably off the screen.
Barack Obama.
I mean, Joe Biden versus Hillary Clinton, there is no doubt who the military would be supportive of.
Let me ask this. Let me put it this way. Let's suppose for a moment that Hillary Clinton were the vice president and Joe Biden were the Secretary of State. And Ambassador Stevens was asking for more security, but perhaps even still an attack occurred. Do you think that Joe Biden would have handled it the same way?
No, not the way she did.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, what she caused was the Secretary of State's responsible for every embassy of the United States embassy around the world.
And consulates.
Period.
Yes.
Okay? Part of that responsibility is to ensure that the ambassador in those places has the proper security to always be able to do what they need to do. And in some places, it's very dangerous where they're at with those embassies and the consulates, like you said. So the question is, who was at fault for there not being proper security in the Benghazi situation? Hillary Clinton. Whether she wants to admit it or not, and she says one more dead-burn time, why does it really matter anymore? I'll never forget it, and it lights me up. And I have friends that were fighting over there. Fortunately, some of them survived. But they would have been more survivors if they had been able to do what they need to do. Hillary Clinton is absolutely responsible for the death of that ambassador and those other three people.
Now, the debate over the security has been about the detail that was hired basically by the local gangs, the local groups. They've hired, locals to protect the ambassador. You had a small cadre of American contractors,
very small,
but the main security they were relying on the locals to take care of. Of course, cut and ran.
Exactly.
And but even then, wouldn't proper security involve having a backup to the locals, such that it would be sort of a rapid, response force who could, in short order, should the locals cut and run, or should they be overwhelmed, who could respond and secure the ambassador and his staff and extract them from wherever they might have been?
Yes, in that kind of situation where the ambassador has a very small American support element. The locals, you really sort of just disregard the locals because you know what's probably going to happen when it went bad, which is exactly what we've seen. But what about the backup force? They were available, okay? Some of them were at the CIA annex there, okay? They wanted to go immediately. They were told they could not go, okay? What about the force that was in Yemen that says we can get there? What about the force that was on an aircraft carrier that the admiral said, we can get there? And what about Carter Ham and his people and said, we can? And they were constantly told no, because it wasn't going to last very long. 13 hours is a long dad-burn time, and every one of those groups of people could have provided a force. Would the ambassador still been alive when we get there? We don't know the answer to that question, but at least give them a chance. They never even got the chance to save him, because by the time they did get to him, he and the other three guys were all dead.
Now, Hillary Clinton says that there was no stand-down order.
Okay, so she lied again. So what's the point with that? Okay, I mean, whether she says there was no stand-down order, she didn't provide the support. So what's the difference here? I didn't tell them to stand down. Well, you shouldn't have even been involved at that point. You'd already screwed it up. You should have just let the military go do what you got to do. That should have been the order. But she did not support anything because we were all focused on this fact this was just a riot based on this film thing. Yeah, you show up at a riot with RPGs? No, I don't think so. Right. AK-47s? I don't think so. She failed to do what she was supposed to do when she raised her right hand to be the Secretary of State. She failed, and Americans died, and that's wrong.
And as you said, they wanted to go.
Now, Chris, I just wonder, too, is, in Biden's situation, do you think he's just holding off, waiting for the hearing, wait till the next day when you get all the feedback from the, the walking heads or talking heads, whatever you want to define them, and then he comes out this weekend, yes or no? Because I think we're all fed up with, I'm going to, I'm not going. Hey, Joe, get with it, buddy, because I actually think you're getting hurt now because we're all tired of it.
He is.
And I think, I do believe I'm concerned Hillary lies so much, she's such a consummate liar, that she's going to get away with something that's going to make her look like she has some degree of integrity, which we all know that is not true. But I just figure Biden's going to sit back there and just wait till the feedback, that night and in the morning, and then I think you're going to get your answer by the weekend.
Chris, as I think you know from previous conversations we've had, Linda and I were very fortunate to be at Fort Benning, Georgia, back in January of this year, and we met one of those that was not allowed to go.
Right.
Former Ranger and 2nd Ranger Battalion, then CIA, then a contractor. He and his buddies in that annex had a responsibility to protect the people there. But at the point that they knew that wasn't what was important, the other was, they were equipped, ready to go, and were told no. Now, I got it straight from the guy that was standing there with his gear on, with his buddies, ready to go.
Right.
After a while, one of them did go, and he ended up dying. After a while, after that, not too long after that, the others said, we're going now, whether you like it or not.
Right.
The guy I'm talking about, Chris, I'll just say Chris was his name as well as yours, but Chris was shot numerous times trying to save the guys. They didn't quit fighting. They went over walls, underneath everything. They did everything to get there, and every one of them got shot up. Now, they're going to tell me that she's not responsible. Yes, she is responsible. She was the Secretary of State at that time. She failed to protect the United States of America and its soldiers.